Well, and here we are, ready to develop our microgrid development plan, ready to actually build the microgrid and operate it. So let's remind us where we were. Phase one. Phase one was the beginning of identifying who, what, where, when, and why. Who's in our microgrid? Our police, our fire. Why are they in? Critical needs. What? How much energy do they use? Where are they located? All the questions that laid out the basic stakeholders that were going to participate in the microgrid. Included in that was how much energy they used, how much peak energy they used, how much gas they used. In other words, how much energy do we need to make to actually power the various participants in our microgrid to make sure that during emergency situations, we can power the critical needs of our municipality or our county. So that phase one has been completed. We've looked at it, we've mapped it, we've identified it, we're ready to go. Phase two now looks at the distribution system. And in phase one, we were really working with our local stakeholders, the town, the police, the fire, the private sector, participants in the microgrid. In phase two, we're going to work much more with the utility now. We're going to look at the distribution system. We're going to look at how the electrons that we're going to produce are going to move. We're going to look at how that distribution system is protected. We're going to make sure it's waterproof. We're going to make sure it's not on poles that can fall down. We're going to really work very closely to get the entire network planned and financed through the Board of Public Utilities. So phase one, who, what, where, when, and why. Phase two, working with the utility to connect the who, what, where, when, and why. And so there we are. We now have a map. We now know who's in. We now know where they are. We now know how we're going to connect them and how much energy they use. Time to begin the preparation for the microgrid development plan final phase. And in this plan, we don't want to overthink, right? We're really going to talk about 4 steps. Number one, how much money is it going to cost us or going to cost a third party bidding on this to put out to build all the types of systems, solar, cogen, storage, that are projected from phase one to be in the microgrid. And in addition to that, how are we going to secure that microgrid, interconnect it, and all the other costs that go with it? And so we're going to have a number. Number one, we're going to have from that number a rebate, right? We're going to have ITC, the federal rebate. We're going to have SRECs. We're going to have rebates from the Board of Public Utilities that will help to fund some of the energy, some of the systems that are going to provide the power to our microgrid. So we have money out, then we have money back in, and these are rebates. Number three, we're going to look at how much energy our participants in the microgrid are going to use. Remember in phase one, we identified who was in and out, but we looked at the maximum amount of energy each of those stakeholders were going to use, and we now know how much they were paying for that energy, and we now know how many hours a day they were using that energy, and so we can begin to create an economic profile that really looks at if we are selling energy for the number of hours that our participants were using energy before at the rate that they were buying from before, how much money does that make? And that becomes our third variable. And then finally, we look at how much energy is left over. Are residents not using energy during the day because they're out? Are certain commercial businesses not using energy on the weekend because they're closed? These are some of the things we're going to look at because that energy now can be sold to the grid. We can look at markets like demand response, peak shaving, frequency, a whole bunch of other things that will help make the microgrid provider the money necessary to operate the microgrid and to pay back their investments in the various pieces of equipment that help to power that microgrid. So recapping it, here's where we are. In phase one, we looked at who was in and out, and we got all of the information necessary. Phase two, we worked with the utility to connect all of those people into a distribution system that was waterproof and really is going to help us maintain power during times of emergency. In phase three, we're going to concentrate on the money. Where is the money coming from? How are we going to make money? And how is the microgrid going to provide revenue so that it can own and operate itself? And then finally, all of that is going to be baked into a bid document that will allow you as the government entity to go out there, request competitors to bid on this and help build this system out so that you can complete the process and have the microgrid operational. Thank you very much.